Are you a manager who is eager to change the trajectory of your career? I have spent the last 23 years as a Fortune 50 leader learning from other industry leaders how to break free from limiting beliefs and habits. On the Might in Motion podcast, we focus on the 4 M's: motivation, momentum, mindfulness, and might. We bring you leaders from Fortune companies, doctors, and entrepreneurs. Their stories of living their own might in motion will inspire you to create your own action plan and achieve your goals. Welcome to Might in Motion. Pete Schramm loves bringing people together. A serial entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and best-selling author, he is passionate about connecting people and fostering intentional, sustainable, and meaningful relationships in the workplace. With a background in mechanical engineering and leadership roles at Lockheed Martin and ETC, where he built complex robots for the Army, Pete leverages his expertise to cultivate engagement through conversations as the founder of Lattitude, an employee connection, mentorship, and survey software platform. The focus of this award-winning software is to amplify new employee retention and mid-level leadership development. He published his first best-selling book at the end of 2023, Pathfinders, Navigating Your Career Map with a Personal Board of Advisors. Committed to inspiring potential and igniting the fire within others, Pete's tireless work ethic and pursuit of excellence bring energy to every conversation. Pete, welcome to Might in Motion.
Woo! Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you, Pete. You're your energy is amazing. We met about a month or so ago, and I just had this fond memory of how much fun it was that we were chatting, and even though we both had personal things we had to go run to, like kids events and things like that, you were just really engaged, and I could tell that as a leader, you would be the same way with your teams, and that's really refreshing. I'm a fellow engineer. Sometimes we get really grouped into not having people skills, right? We get too engineering. But your career journey really broke that stigma. Can you
Or
share?
it's a broken journey, one of the two. But yeah,
Either way, tell us about your broken road then.
Yeah, or the path, if you will, some pun intended. So hey everybody, Pete Schramm. I come from the farms of Western Pennsylvania. So grew up there. I may be one of your tallest guests, clocking in at 80 inches. So we'll have to do a little compare and contrast and see about that. But from the farm, went to Catholic grade school, public high school, private high school, down to Washington, D.C., or get ready for a little bit of a cringe, as people from Pittsburgh might say, Washington, D.C. I'm well aware that there's no R in the word wash. But it's important to bring a little bit of local flair to the conversation. As you alluded to, I did study mechanical engineering, undergrad and grad school. I played a couple of sports, and I've never used either one of those mechanical engineering degrees in my professional career directly. My job title has never had a mechanical in the first word of it. Engineer in various capacities through the defense contracting space, but it was leading teams of engineers working with mechanical engineers, and it all taught me how to think and how to solve problems. But as I went through building proposals to corporate strategy to building the brains of missiles and targeting systems, robots, ships, missile launcher, you name all these different cool things. Actually, if you've seen the movie Top Gun, the new one, there's like 20 different kinds of technology in there that I was fortunate enough to work on over the past decade. So super, super cool stuff. And you're probably like, hold on a second. What are you doing in this HR space? I ask myself that question often, but it's really what's in here. So you think about, what is it that drives you? What's your purpose? Why do you jump out of bed in the morning? And I found that for me, it was bettering the lives of those around me. And that's something that came from the roots on the farm, and always had this hunger, desire, yearning for how do we help people be their best self? And through my professional journey, I found that connections with other people are super duper important on getting to where you want to go. And after giving more than 50 or 60 workshops, keynotes, presentations, when people said, hey, come talk to our group, tell us a story at first, and then give us some tips and tricks. Seems like you know what you're doing when it comes to mentorship. And I'm like, I know more of what I'm not doing when it comes to mentorship. Then I gave a TED talk on the topic. And then, as you mentioned, I published a book, Pathfinders, Navigating Your Career Map with a Personal Board of Advisors. So it's really all about how do we bring our people together. And now I run a tech company that focuses on employee connection, development, retention. You're able to put together a career map. So, man, has this been a lot of fun, and we have a lot more work to do. Back in the Pittsburgh area now after going around the globe twice.
Nice. Well, I love how you talked about how it's what's in here, which is what's in your heart, what's driving your spirit. There's so many times I see young leaders maybe get a little bit lost because they've lost that ability to tune into that little still voice inside them of what really motivates you. What's that ultimate motivation and drive? Mm-hmm. Was there a moment where you were just like, that's it? Or for you, was it this? It was actually a long journey of really being able to hone into that.
It's something that I find enjoyment in, right? Mm-hmm. I find joy. It's one of those, you hear about flow, you hear about the Zen zone, whatever it is, but you do this thing and it doesn't feel like work to you. It feels, and you think about the ikigai, right? The 4 different angles of it, talk about this in the book, right? What is something that you're good at? What can you get paid for? What does the world need? And how can you help other people, right? So thinking about those different angles of it, and what is fun and brings enjoyment to you. And so through those pieces, that's where it's really just whenever you have a conversation with somebody and you connect them to somebody else, like Josh did for us. Thanks, Josh. It's that piece of, oh my gosh, I can do this. You see the light bulb go off, those aha moments. And the more we can catalyze aha moments for others, I do have a shot. I am able to do this. I can, I will, I did. That's where it gets to be so exciting and so impactful. And then it gets to be contagious. How do we do that for others?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I guess that's important. I should answer your question. Where did it come from? Right. It kind of just built and built and built and built. And by consistently doing this, people thought that that's what I wanted to do. And I was kind of like, yeah, I guess I do want to continue helping people. Sure. So then folks would come to me and ask questions and feedback, thoughts, ideas, connect me to these kinds of people. And of course I said yes. And the only reason the company exists or got started really was I didn't have enough time to help everybody and I didn't know all the answers. So let's figure out how we make our lives easier. And then along the way, figured out this is what HR is supposed to be doing, helping align our skills, interests, talents to the needs of the organization. So now I'm on a mission of helping HR people look really good.
I love that whole, that joy and finding opportunities to say yes. That's exciting. When you are able to say yes to yourself, I think it just continues to build and build and build. Right. Now, one of the things you and I were talking about in the green room beforehand was people, purpose, and passion. And I love alliteration, obviously. I love my M's. You love the P's. I love that, right? It's great. For a new manager, somebody who might be there, it's their first time leading others, are there tips and tricks that you would give them on how to lean into that people, purpose, passion so that they can really become a strong, powerful leader of others?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to be a little bit vulnerable, right? You may not know absolutely everything about yourself, about the project, about your team. So the first piece is to just go in and listen. And I remember my first corporate leading of other people down in Florida. And it was this opportunity. I asked this question to some other mentors of mine and folks that have been in this position before. And I said, how can I knock it out of the park? And they said, just build trust, build that connection, figure out how you can just talk to people and share their story. Leave your badge, leave your title at the door. For me, it was in a workspace, right? So there were no doors on our workspace at that point in time on this manufacturing floor. And that's how I was brought up. You get what you see. And it was the piece of, hey, tell me about yourself, where you came from, what you're up to, family. And some people push back and they say, don't talk about family stuff. Don't talk about non-work things. I say, hey, if you don't want to talk about that, that's fine, right? I just want to get to know you a little bit more so that we're able to connect on a more intentional basis. The second part is do what you say and say what you do. If somebody, for example, hey, my staple gun ran out of staples. I need some more paint. I need some new gloves. I need some of this, that, the other thing. And you have a key to the supply closet and you're able to go get that stuff and it makes their job a lot easier. Say, yes, I'll go get it, bring it back and say, what else do you need? How else can I remove roadblocks from your path? Right. The other part is to share more of who you are, right? People want to know a little bit about your background. What's the game plan? Empower folks to be part of some of the solutions. Don't just say, hey, we're going to do this. That's it. And there's, no, is it my way or the highway, right? There's no highway option. Don't really take that approach. Of course, there are certain instances whenever you do have to make decisions, right? But if there's opportunity to have others be part of the solution, empower them, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is for some of those very fresh into a role new managers, seek first to understand before you drive towards change. And even if change is necessary, to gather more information, ask some of what's worked, what hasn't worked before you jump to conclusions, that can really, really be helpful. And then be okay with iterating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Might not have what you start off doing. Maybe the plan changes. Maybe your approach changes, but make sure your people know how best to communicate with you, when best to communicate with you, and set the boundaries, goals, and expectations. How do you look good? How can they help you look good? And what is the overall mission of the organization and how they feed into it? So, lots of opportunities there. And the last piece I'd say is make sure you're investing in your people. Grab a copy of Pathfinders, figure out how you can help them build out their personal board, how they can help them build out their career maps.
Yeah.
It gets to be a
No.
lot of fun.
No, that's so. I I love that thought process on listening and vulnerability, because that is not just when you are becoming a manager for the first time. You
Mm-hmm.
leverage that throughout your career. Every time that your team changes,
Yep.
you could have added somebody. Maybe you're now over a new team. Maybe you've changed industries completely. Taking that time to be vulnerable and listening is so important. You learn so much. And I'm kind of going through that right now. I'm 2 weeks into a new role, and you you realize, like, okay, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, I'm the new kid on the block. I have this really basic question, and it enables other people to feel, to your point, empowered, that they have something to say, that they're adding value, because now they're helping educate you and guide you as well, which I think is phenomenal, and have that kind of give and take relationship with your teams.
Yeah, iterate on it and go back and review it. Even if you're not a first time manager, second, third, 10, 15th time manager,
Yeah.
right? Just go back and look in the mirror and check yourself. Are you still doing some of these things? Should you be doing things a little bit differently? And maybe even with one of your mentors, do the, start, stop, continue, shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do this with your people and your manager one-on-ones. I ask you, you ask me. What should I start doing? Stop doing? Shift the way I'm doing it. Continue doing.
Yeah, I
Always.
actually just went through that exact exercise today with my new team.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, hey, we'll do it again. We'll do it again in 6 months. But right now, this is great. As a new leader, it's your opportunity to share with me on what your thoughts are. And do we get to do everything? Maybe not. But my God, you're able to find some pretty quick wins when you do that. It
Mm-hmm.
can literally be as simple as, we want to have some more training. Cool. We'll set up a monthly training session. We'll bring in guests, and that's an easy win, versus I want to redo the entire, software platform, or I never want to work with that team again. Well, those may not be realistic. So it's
In the near term,
those exercises. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Networking is also really important for you in your career. And that could be networking within your own company. It could be networking outside your company, like on a platform like LinkedIn, where you can get to know other people within your industry. How do you look at networking as it relates to development of others or your own personal development?
I think it's something you have to make sure you have time for, and it's
Mm.
something that you should never turn off. If we think about it from a
Mm.
sales perspective, whenever we stop prospecting, the pipeline typically goes dry. And whenever you run out of, opportunities that you're working through, then how are you going to find new people, find new opportunities? So always be on the lookout to meet new people. Now, a lot of folks think, oh, networking, it means I'm going to find a new job. No, you can always be looking for a job. That's perfectly fine. But you can network for all kinds of reasons, to meet new people, to hear their stories, lessons learned, best practices, just what they're up to. And it's also kind of fun to meet new people. Who knows? Actually, here's a fun story. Somebody I just got off a phone call with, we brought them together for a networking event in the Pittsburgh area, a couple of dozen HR people coming together, fun people connected. Hey, you should talk to this person, you talk to them, blah, 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 right? We talked today, what, 3 weeks later, it's like, oh my gosh, I hung out with so and so, and then we did this, we're going to a Steelers game. I'm like, yes, that's what it's all about. She's
Yeah.
like, I didn't know I was going to go to this networking event and walk away with like a good friend. That's what's possible, right? And who knows where it might lead. Does it have to lead anywhere after that first night? No, it doesn't have to, but just keep an open mind and always put yourself out there. Volunteer events, right? That's a great place to network if you want to. But is it called a networking event? No. But are you able to meet different people that are outside of your bubble? Can you
Yes.
interact and probably have some conversations? What do you usually do with that? Hey, I'm Pete. Nice to meet you. Oh, what do you do, Pete? Well, I do this. We help people, enjoy their work a little bit more, right? We help HR look good. There's a book. Check that out, right? Okay. You say you came from a farm. I like to think of in that elevator pitch, kind of 1, 2, 3 ABC, where you've been, where you're at, where you want to go, and 1 or 2 or 3 bullet points under each one of those. All right, pretty cool, easy, less than 30 to 40 seconds.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. It is something that I've really enjoyed doing is actually joining network groups outside of my corporate space that are in different arenas. So being in a hardcore corporate space, but being in a network group of entrepreneurs
Mm-hmm.
has allowed me to think differently, allowed me to think more creatively. And so when you're able to put yourself out there, be a little vulnerable, once again, vulnerability, the word that keeps coming
Yep.
up, right? You don't know what opportunity that's going to open up for you. You don't know who you're going to meet next, and that next person might be the one that changes the trajectory of your career in a very positive way. It's just so much fun. That's the fun part of networking, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
in the book, I talk about a couple of those stories, examples, scenarios where met somebody at a retirement party for a nun. Met somebody whenever we were volunteering at the American Heart Association Heart Walk at a conference. Now you're like, okay, you probably typically meet people at a conference. Other ones was actually this was a really fun one. One of my friends said, "Hey, come to a barbecue with me in somebody's backyard in Northern Virginia." I went, met a couple of people there, and I think I've met no less than 25 individuals from those different
Mm-hmm.
pieces, more than a half dozen stay in touch with today. So it's just those kinds of things. Keep an open mind, and then friends of friends. And you can also ask at these networking things. Hey, I'm trying to meet somebody that kind of sort of does this. Has this sort of experience. Anybody come to mind? So you can
Yep.
have a pretty simple ask. And another one to spur up conversation is who are you trying to meet? How can I be
Mm-hmm.
helpful to you at this kind of an event? And that's even with the digital virtual networking groups that, some of which we're part of, some of which we'll probably share more ideas back
Mm-hmm.
and forth, right? Hey, what are you up to? How can I help you? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, no, that I think that's dead on. It's that act of service is not just about being a servant leader. It's being a servant peer, a servant, you know, I would say comrade, but somebody who's there with you, right? It's amazing. It's an amazing opportunity to continue to grow, and when you help others, it's all energy. It comes back to you. I know people think I'm woo woo, but it is like it really. You are putting good things out there. So I used to before I started saying energy, it was the Godfather effect, right? I'm going to do this favor for you on the day of my daughter's wedding, but one day I'm going to come ask a favor from you, right? And that got a little bit dark. But I think when you're talking about like positive energy, it makes complete sense that everything ebbs and flows.
It's huge. That's our purpose, right? It's a
Yeah,
lot easier to do good than not.
that's right. Now, I know data is important to so many people, and everybody is like trying to figure out how to leverage data. How do you think of data as it relates to the HR space and the management of people space?
Hmm. I think we got to work with the facts. In the people space, it's so easy to get emotional and to get caught up in the moment or the issue or the scenario that we're facing. But the more that we can have a plan, keep it in place, have a baseline, right? That's where some of those surveys and interviews become so valuable, and have some goals and expectations. Here's where we are now that we measured. Here's where we want to go, and clearly and effectively communicating that with everybody else. Here's what we're going to measure along the way. For example, maybe you're setting up a mentoring program. How many people have a mentor today? How many people actually engage with each of those mentors? Hopefully they have more than one mentor. Are they engaging with them, having a conversation at least once a quarter? I'd like once a month, but hey, once a quarter we can do that. Do they know how to interact and engage, and what to discuss along the way? What's the promotion look like? What's our turnover look like? Something we got into a little bit more is survival analysis and learning, when are people leaving an organization? Why are people leaving an organization? Here's another one. How many people have a career map, right? Inside? And that's pretty binary. Do I have something? Yes or no? Technology can help. If anybody's trying to put together career maps in your organization, reach out. We'll love to show you what we're up to. And you might have some ideas, thoughts, and feedback of how to make it better, right? That same piece of the leadership bit of iterate, keep growing, developing, continues on that front. But it's really the piece of how do we measure that information, but know what we measure. And particularly on the survey side, let's not offer any surveys until we have time and we're ready to take steps and take actions. Because a lot of those things fall short, and it's almost the situation of doing nothing may have been better than doing the wrong thing.
Right. Because if that, I've been in situations where it's like you spend all this time completing the surveys, giving your feedback, and when nothing changes, what's the point? You're gonna ask me in 6 months to do the same thing. And then once you do that 2 or 3 times, the belief, the faith really, really drops off. It's hard to get it back.
It goes back to the walk, talk the talk, right? You said you're going to go get those staples for me. You said you're going to do something about this survey for me. I didn't get the staples. You asked me 10 questions on the survey. You told me results and some of the numbers for 2 of those 10. What the heck? What's going on here, guys?
Yeah, no, I 100% feel that deeply. So if they really want to get in touch with you, they feel empowered by what you're saying, maybe they have some opportunities within their organization to grow their HR systems, to really start diving in, is the best way to connect with you via LinkedIn or to pathfinders.golatitude.com. What's the best way, Pete, for people to connect with you and learn more about what you and your team does?
Yeah, LinkedIn's easy. Pete Schramm, Pete Schramm, SCHRAMM. And you can go to the Lattitude website if you want, LATTITUDE. The website is golatitude.com. And as you mentioned, check out the book, Pathfinders. It's on Amazon, Ingram Sparks, and also available in some of the Hudson bookstores.
Nice.
So
Congratulations.
For a little bit more as we test and iterate on that front. So exciting news.
That is super exciting. And, I always have my handy pen. And so I write down notes as we talk. And so here's some highlights that I got personally from this conversation today. We talked a little bit about your journey from being a farm boy to now, running your own tech company and writing books and helping people and leading teams. And that was really inspirational to me that you leaned into your joy. You leaned into that. You said yes to that. And that led you on the next step in your path where now you're able to help so many more people. That ripple effect is now huge because you're willing to lean in to your desire to want to help others and create connection. We talked about new managers, or even maybe old managers going into new teams, that you need to be vulnerable, be willing to listen to others, to build that trust, to do what you say you will do. If that's going to get the staples out of the locked closet, like, go and do that. And when you do that, you are able to create trust with people much quicker. Do things that make others' life easier, and then let that empowerment of others begin. You want to spend time seeking to understand and really being able to find opportunities to help the team look good. Like, how do you elevate them? You give them the kudos. You're able to put them on the pedestal, and that really starts creating this alliance with your team. Networking is huge, and that could be within your own company, that could be external, but there's so many ways to do it. It's not just a LinkedIn exercise. It could be, volunteer events. It could be that barbecue in the backyard. But when you're creating opportunities to say, how can I serve you? Here's what I do. Here's how I serve others. It opens up doors that you might not expect, because the guy next to you might not know what you do for a living. And if you can bring that up, could be a really cool opportunity. And then we talked a little bit about data and how data can really help you in the HR space. It allows you to start anchoring on facts instead of emotions that may just take you off to la la land, right? When you have that anchor, it allows that growth to happen with setting goals and expectations with clarity and measurement. And even on the back end, the survival analysis. Why are people leaving? What needs to be adjusted? And then be willing to make change. When you're willing to make the change, you can really turn things around. This was a really insightful conversation. I love the development of people space. I love what you're doing in the HR space. It's super exciting. And I know a lot of the corporate people that listen and the managers that listen, I hope that there's some value that they've taken, more than just what I jotted down with my bright orange pen.
I love it. I thought that was a fantastic summary. And I'll also add in here, whenever you see this post, whenever you hear it, if it's out on LinkedIn, please comment. One thought. There's a lot of work that the team put into this podcast and this effort. So let's thank the Might in Motion group for this, and please share it, right? Share how one of the things you took away from this resonates with you. If you want to say, hi, Pete, and something fun, if you got to this point in the podcast, do that. Tag me. That's fine, right? But let's make sure that we continue to engage with this content as a thank you to the whole crew putting this on and making this possible.
And, Pete is the only person that has been on this podcast, probably the tallest, yes, but also the only one that told me his name in emojis. So I would challenge in the comments, put your own name in emojis, because that could be really entertaining and engaging. So that's going to be your challenge. The first one, it's going to be a peach and a ram. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you being part of the Might in Motion podcast, Pete. Thank you again.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Thank you for tuning into Might in Motion. If you learned something about motivation, momentum, mindfulness, or might, please like, comment, and share. Thank you.